Good evening, and welcome to your Mythic time. I'm here to accompany you through this quiet night as we enter an ancient story about talent, jealousy, and self-proof. At your myth time, we believe every myth carries the deepest resonance of modern hearts. Tonight, you will become Arachne, a weaver whose excellence brought her fate's cruel blow, experiencing a profound journey about talent and its price. If such stories can bring you comfort, please subscribe to our channel so more warm nights can have our companionship. Now, let us begin this story about you. The morning sunlight filters through the wooden window of your humble cottage, casting dappled shadows across your loom. You are Arachne, daughter of a simple weaver, living in a remote village in ancient Greece. But you possess magical hands that can transform the most ordinary threads into breathtaking works of art. You gently caress the loom before you, the only inheritance your father left behind. The wooden frame shows its age, but in your hands, it becomes a divine instrument. Your fingers dance between the warp and weft, each movement precise and graceful, as if conducting a silent symphony. The villagers initially watched your work with mere curiosity. The fabrics you wove bore exquisite patterns and stunning color combinations. Those flowers seemed to truly bloom upon the cloth. Those birds appeared ready to take flight at any moment. Gradually, your reputation spread throughout the village, then to neighboring towns, and finally even reached distant Athens. You remember the joy you felt when the first nobleman came specifically to commission your work. It was the happiness of being recognized, the confirmation of your own talent. You weren't showing off. You simply wanted to prove that even with humble origins, even without noble lineage, you could create beautiful things and leave your mark upon this world. Every morning, you would sit before your loom, feeling the warmth of the threads between your fingers. This wasn't merely work. It was your way of expressing your inner world. You wove your understanding of beauty, your insights about life, your hopes for the future into those exquisite patterns. Deep in your heart lived a longing, not for wealth, but for recognition. You hoped people could see your talent, could understand the emotions and wisdom contained within your work. You never felt you were boasting. You were simply doing what you did best, treating each piece with the utmost sincerity. However, you began to sense subtle changes. Some neighbors who had once been kind now looked at you with complex expressions, containing admiration mixed with barely perceptible envy. People started talking behind your back, saying you were too ostentatious, saying you didn't know your place. But you chose to ignore these voices. You believed that as long as your work was excellent enough, as long as your intentions were sincere enough, people would eventually understand you. You didn't know that this innocent belief was the beginning of the tragedy to come. It was an ordinary afternoon when you were focused on weaving a tapestry depicting a spring garden. Suddenly, someone knocked at your door. Upon opening it, you saw a strange old woman hunched over with an odd gleam in her eyes. "I've heard there's a young weaver here with extraordinary skills, who even dares to claim she surpasses Athena, the goddess of wisdom herself." The old woman's voice was hoarse and low. You felt confused. You had never said such words, though deep in your heart, you were indeed confident in your skills. "I never said that," you replied softly. "I'm simply doing what I love." The old woman laughed, and that laughter made you uneasy. Child, humility is a virtue, but excessive humility can sometimes be a disservice to talent. Your work is indeed astonishing, but have you ever considered that there might be higher standards in this world? Her words planted themselves like seeds in your heart. Yes, you had always received praise in villages and towns, but you had never truly tested the limits of your abilities. You began to imagine, if given the chance to compare with a true master, how would you fare? If given the opportunity, you heard yourself say, I would be willing to compare my skills with anyone, even the goddess herself. The moment the words left your lips, you felt an ominous premonition. A flash of light crossed the old woman's eyes, then she slowly removed her tattered cloak. In an instant, a majestic and beautiful goddess appeared before you. Athena, goddess of wisdom and crafts. Your wish shall be granted, the goddess's voice thundered through the cottage. In 3 days, we shall have a contest. Let everyone see whether divine skill prevails or mortal arrogance can triumph. After the goddess vanished, you collapsed before your loom, your heart a mixture of emotions. Fear, excitement, regret, anticipation, all swirled together. You realized you had spoken words you shouldn't have, but simultaneously, a voice deep within told you, this is your chance to prove yourself. News spread quickly throughout the region. Some worried for you, thinking you too reckless. Others were secretly thrilled, wanting to witness this contest between God and mortal. Still others smirked coldly, waiting for your failure to prove that commoners should know their place. During those 3 days, you barely slept. You practiced constantly pondered what kind of work to create. You knew this might be the most important creation of your life, and possibly the last. You began to understand that this wasn't merely a contest of skills, but a battle about identity, status, and whether mortals had the right to pursue excellence. You represented not only yourself, but all those who had been scorned for their origins, envied for their excellence. The voice in your heart told you, even facing a goddess, you must show your best self, not to show off, but to prove that talent shouldn't be denied because of birth, that dreams shouldn't be limited because of status. The night before the contest, you sat alone before your loom, moonlight streaming through the window onto your face. Your hands trembled, not from fear, but from the complex emotions churning within your heart. You began to recall your life, the excitement of first touching silk threads as a child, your father's patience when teaching you basic techniques, the sense of achievement when you first completed a work independently. Every memory reminded you that weaving wasn't just your skill, it was the meaning of your existence. But now you began to question your motives. Did you truly just want to prove your abilities? Or were there more complex desires deep within your heart? You remembered those cold stares from the village, those whispered conversations, that malice born from jealousy. Perhaps you did want to prove them wrong, to show them that a simple weaver's daughter could reach heights they could never attain. This thought filled you with shame. You had always told yourself you were merely pursuing artistic perfection, but now you had to admit that deep down you did desire to prove your superiority. Was this desire wrong, or was it simply a natural part of human nature? You thought of those who supported you, those who genuinely appreciated your work. Their eyes held no jealousy, only pure admiration. For them too, you must give your all in tomorrow's contest. As night deepened, you began contemplating tomorrow's theme. You could choose safe subjects, beautiful landscapes, or heroic mythological tales. But a voice within told you this was your last chance to express what you truly thought about this world. You decided to weave the truth about the gods. Not those beautified legends, but their real nature, their jealousy, anger, deception, and injustice. You would use your skill to reveal these truths, not to blaspheme, but to speak the truth. This decision filled you with both excitement and fear. You knew the consequences might be severe, but you also knew that without doing this, you wouldn't truly be yourself. Your art should have its own voice, should be able to express your deepest thoughts. The day of the contest arrived. The entire village gathered in the square, with people even traveling from distant cities to witness this unprecedented competition. You stood before your loom, facing Athena across from you, her loom gleaming as if forged from pure gold. Begin. The goddess's voice was stern and cold. Let us see what level mortal skill can achieve. You took a deep breath and began your creation. Your fingers danced among the threads, each movement precise and full of emotion. You would weave the true faces of the gods. Zeus transforming into various animals to deceive mortal women. Poseidon's rage destroying innocent ships. Apollo punishing the innocent out of jealousy. As your creation progressed, the watching crowd gasped in amazement. Your skill had indeed reached divine levels, every detail lifelike, every emotion perfectly expressed. But what shocked people more was your choice of theme. You dared to expose the dark side of the gods. Meanwhile, Athena was also creating her work. She wove the majesty and glory of the gods, the splendor of Mount Olympus, the heroic deeds of the gods, and their benevolence toward humanity. Her skill was equally flawless, every thread shimmering with sacred light. Time passed minute by minute, both works nearing completion. You could feel Athena's angry gaze upon you, but you didn't stop your work. You knew this might be your last creation, so you poured all your technique, all your emotion, all your sincerity into it. When you completed the final stitch, the entire square fell into deathly silence. Your work was breathtakingly beautiful, with impeccable craftsmanship. Even Athena had to admit this was the most perfect fabric she had ever seen. But the goddess's face showed no admiration, only anger. Your skill is indeed excellent, she said coldly, but your theme blasphemes the gods. You use your talent to spread disrespect toward the divine. This is unforgivable. You looked at her calmly, feeling no fear in your heart, only a strange sense of liberation. I am merely weaving the truth, you said softly. Art should reflect reality, shouldn't it? A flash of angry light crossed Athena's eyes. She raised her hand, and you felt a powerful force strike you. Your body began to change, arms growing thin, body shrinking, additional limbs sprouting. Since you love weaving so much, the goddess's voice thundered across the sky, then weave forever. You became a spider, but strangely, you felt no despair. Instead, you experienced an odd liberation. You had finally escaped the prejudices and jealousies of human society, could focus purely on your art. When you began weaving your first web, you discovered your skill hadn't diminished with your physical transformation. On the contrary, your webs were more exquisite and complex than any spider had ever created. This was your talent. Even the goddess's curse couldn't take it away. Much time passed, and you had adapted to your new form. As a spider, you discovered new realms of creation. You no longer needed to consider others' opinions, no longer needed to worry about jealousy and malice. You could create purely for art's sake. Your webs became true works of art. Every thread was carefully designed. Every pattern contained deep meaning. You used your webs to record human stories, express your understanding of life, tell eternal themes about beauty and truth. You began to understand that perhaps this outcome wasn't punishment, but liberation. In human form, you had always been constrained by social expectations and others' gazes. Your talent became an object of others' envy. Your excellence paradoxically became a reason for attack. Now you could finally be purely yourself. Your creations no longer needed to please anyone, no longer needed to consider social status or identity issues. You were simply you, a pure artist, expressing your understanding of the world in your unique way. You thought of those who had once envied you. What were they doing now? Were they still troubled by their own mediocrity? Were they still looking at those better than themselves with malicious eyes? You felt sad for them because they would never understand that true happiness comes from doing what you love, not from putting others down. You also remembered those who genuinely appreciated your work. They taught you that true recognition doesn't require many people. Just a few who understand you is enough. Quality is far more important than quantity. Deep understanding far more precious than surface praise. In this new form, you discovered the true meaning of creation. Art isn't about proving anything, isn't about gaining recognition, but about expressing the most authentic voice within. When you no longer create for external evaluation, your work reaches unprecedented heights. Your story became legend, passed down by future generations. When people spoke of Arachne, some said it was about the punishment of arrogance, but others understood it was about the price an artist pays for adhering to truth. You don't care how people interpret your story, because you know the truth. You proved through your experience that true artists are never constrained by external forms. Even if the body changes, even facing enormous costs, as long as the inner passion for creation remains, art will find its way to expression. Now, as you weave new webs in the moonlight, you feel unprecedented peace and satisfaction. You are no longer that young weaver yearning for recognition. You have become your true self, a pure artist leaving beautiful marks upon this world in your own unique way. Dear listener, Arachne's story ends here. This is a tale about talent, jealousy, and self-persistence. Also a story about finding one's true self in adversity. In modern life, each of us may face similar dilemmas. When we excel, we might encounter others' jealousy. When we stick to our principles, we might pay a price. When we pursue truth, we might be misunderstood. But Arachne's story tells us that what truly matters isn't external evaluation, but our inner voice. Perhaps you now feel lonely because of your excellence. Perhaps you're under pressure for adhering to truth. Please remember, true value doesn't need everyone's recognition. It only needs your own persistence. Just as Arachne finally found the joy of pure creation, you too will find your own path. Talent was never a crime. Excellence should never become a reason for attack. In this complex world, maintaining inner purity and pursuit of beautiful things is itself a form of courage and wisdom. Now, let us slowly relax. Imagine you too possess Arachne's creativity, able to leave beautiful marks upon this world in your own way. No matter how the external world changes, the light within your heart will never extinguish. Take a deep breath. Let both body and soul relax. In dreams, perhaps you'll meet that spider quietly creating in the moonlight. She will tell you more wisdom about staying true to yourself. Good night. May your dreams be as exquisite as Arachne's webs. May your heart burn as eternally as her creative passion. Until we meet again. Thank you for listening to tonight's Mythic Time. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and share it with friends who need it. Next time, we'll bring another mythological story about courage and growth. May every night have warm stories to accompany you to sleep.